they just don't know any better.
And you thought that you'd be safe in your tower.
But not so.
Insulated from the people below. But the truth has undermined your foundation.
Yeah, it's shaking it up.
But so many people now in the
People are noticing.
You thought that you'd see the day that you could just get away.
No escape.
From the ones you betrayed, who raised their voices to say you won't be trusted anymore.
Alrighty then. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great big beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. It's Friday, TGIF. It's the 21st of November, 2025. These are the WTF reports. I'm your host, Dave vonKleist. WTF with the facts. And if those facts make you exclaim, WTF, well then so be it. Anyway, the broadcast is brought to you in part by the Wave Watch. And as a special alert, there's a 25% off on the Wave Watch 2.0. Yeah, they came out with that a little over a year ago, right around there, and they've made even more improvements on the Wave Watch. And so there's a new Wave Watch that's in the works, 2.2, and that's not out yet. They're taking pre-orders on that, but in the meantime, they still have the Wave Watch 2.0, and that is they're selling that for 25% off if you visit our website, TheWTFReports.com, and a pop-up window for the Wave Watch will take you right to an area where you can learn all about it, and you can get, like I said, 25% off of the Wave Watch 2.0 if you order through the website. Yeah, and the promo code is RedPill101. So I just wanted to throw that out there. If you haven't checked out the Wave Watch, I don't know what you're waiting for. And I'm not here to tell you it's going to, treat or cure any malady that you may have, but it will do something. It's for your entertainment and educational purposes only, as always. All right, that said, I watched the documentary An Inconvenient Study, and I'll get to that in a couple of minutes. But before I get started with that, I want to revisit a song that I wrote 28 flaming years ago. And the reason I want to play this song, the lyric, it's with all the stuff that's going on right now, this song's lyrics have more significance now than they did when I wrote it almost 3 decades ago. So give a listen to these lyrics, and I'll tell you why I wanted to play this song when we get back. Here it is.
It's been going on for year after year, and so many have shed many a tear. And when they sit down to cry, they never question or try to find an answer. That's the way it's been for oh so long, and you're so used to it you don't see what's wrong. It's in your history, and if you just look and see that it's repeating. When lawyers' litigation goes without examination, you can bet that it won't take very long. With rules and regulations and without representation, pretty soon you'll sing a slavery song. No, go ahead and go your own merry way, but I can tell you that you'll soon curse the day you were asleep at the wheel. You didn't know what was real. You'll learn the hard way. Can you get someone to hear when their ears are filled with self-imposed fear? If there's a voice in the crowd that shouts a message out loud, will someone listen? And how can you get someone to see when they can't bring themselves to turn off TV? If someone turns on a light, will others join in the fight or turn a blind eye? When your country's education doesn't teach about your nation, how your family fought so hard to be free, it creates a situation and promotes perpetuation of a people who will live on their knees. No, go ahead and go your own merry way, but I can tell you that you'll soon curse the day you were asleep at the wheel. care what was real, you'll learn the hard way. When your country's education doesn't teach about your nation, how your family fought so hard to be free, it creates a situation and promotes perpetuation of a people who will live on their knees. No, go ahead and go your own merry way, but I can tell you that you'll soon curse the day. You've been asleep at the wheel, you didn't care what was real, you'll learn the hard way. Will someone listen or turn a blind eye?
Asking the musical question, will someone listen or are you going to turn a blind eye? That's what's happening. That is what's happening. All this information is being flooded out, and so many people are just turning the other way and just not paying attention. They just, and as they say, if you don't know your history, you're destined to repeat it. And it's so frustrating. As a matter of fact, the word frustrating just doesn't do it for me. So I wanted to play that because it's coming, everything is coming full circle. And I'll get back to that in a minute because, I do want to talk about this revelation of that, the Inconvenient Study documentary that is extremely powerful. And I watched the whole thing, and I highly recommend everybody watch that. And I'll get to that in a couple of seconds. But before I do, I want to paint a little picture, okay? I'm going to ask, how much is a billion? All right? And I think we all know that a billion is 1,000 million, okay? So if a billion is 1,000 million, then that means 100 billion is 100,000 million. So the reason I'm throwing those numbers out there, I mean, we could get into the trillion thing, but that's mind-boggling, okay? But if you're talking about someone who was worth $100 billion, that means that they have 100,000, what is it? What did I just say? 1,000 million, 100,000 million. Right. I mean, that's a snot load of money. That is more money than you could possibly ever spend in your whole lifetime. And there are people out there that are billionaires, not just billionaires, but 100 billionaires. Okay, you got people like, Jeff Bezos, and you got Mark Zuckerberg, and you got, Elon Musk. there are a lot, and those are the people they tell you about. I mean, let's not even talk about the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and the Orsinis and all the other, bloodlines. Those rich families and the shareholders in the Federal Reserve System, people whose names you never even hear. But the bottom line here is that there are people out there that have more money than you can even imagine. Now, let's just put that on the back burner here. Let that percolate, okay? Now, let's say that you're driving wherever and you come to a stoplight, and there's a guy over on the side, and he's got a sign. It says, I'm a vet, I'm homeless, I need food. Well, you're sitting there at the red light, and you look at the guy, so you reach in your pocket, and you give a guy $5, okay? Does that make you a communist? No, it doesn't make you a communist. Of course not. All right, so if we keep that in mind, let's look at some of these people that have all this money, this obscene amount of money. If, you got $100 billion, that's 100,000 million, like I said, those numbers are mind-boggling. These people that are so flaming rich, if they all, they could give up $100 million and they wouldn't even blink. They wouldn't even make a ripple in the pond of finances that they have. Now, am I advocating for communism? Of course not. But you stop and think about it. When you've got these people like Larry Fink and Bezos and Zuckerberg and Musk and, all the other people that are worth like $100 billion or $200 billion, they could solve all the problems. They could help humanity. They could contribute. And you know what? And if they were to do that, they would probably make a whole series of Mount Rushmores on their behalf for saving humanity. But they won't do that. Okay, now I'm going to paint another picture. Okay, let's say that you go to a buffet. Okay, you go to, Ryan's or Golden Corral or wherever, all right? And you pay the fee, whatever it is, $10, $15, I don't know what it is now. We don't have any buffets up here in the Northwest. But across the South, they got buffets all over the place. But anyway, so you pay the fee, and you get in line, and let's say there's 50 people behind you, all right? Now, you've paid the money. It's all you can eat. You're perfectly welcome to take as much of whatever that you want. So you go up to the steam table, and you start grabbing, some beans, okay? There's some bunch of beans, whole bunch. Oh, more beans, more. Here's some corn, lots of corn. Oh, it's falling on the floor. That's okay. Put more corn on there. Yeah. Okay, now we get over the meat. Okay, there's chicken. Yeah, chicken. I'm going to take this piece and this piece and this piece and this piece and this piece. And your plate is piled high with food, and you keep putting it more, and it won't even hold. It's all falling on the floor. And you're cleaning out the entire steam table, taking all the roast beef, taking all the seafood, taking all the pork chops, and it's all over the place, and you're cleaning out the entire steam tables. And meanwhile, the people behind you, they got to fight over the little slim pickings that you left behind. Now, of course, you're never going to be able to eat all that food. You're just taking it because you can. Now, let that sink in. Where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line? How much is enough? And we all know that you can't take it with you. And you've heard me say many, many times, the old saying, he who dies with the most stuff wins. No, he who dies with the most stuff missed the point. So I'm just trying to point out that there are very, very unimaginably wealthy people that have it within their wherewithal where they could, if they decided to do so, they could help the people in Flint, Michigan. They could completely redo the water system there and fix everything. They could fix all of our roads. They could fix all the bridges. They could do all this stuff. Does that make them a communist? Am I advocating for communism? No. I'm not advocating for communism any more than giving that poor homeless guy $5. And like I said, a lot of these people are so rich that wouldn't even be a drop in the bucket for them. They wouldn't even feel it. So I just wanted to point that out. I mean, these are the people who we're dealing with. And to them, having all this money and all these assets and all the real estate and the mansions and the big cars and the yachts and owning islands and stuff, it's like a numbers game with them. And I don't know. I mean, I just don't understand how people can be so inhumane. If you're giving the homeless guy $5, that's like an act of humanity. You're helping somebody. And you know what? It makes you feel good. I try to help people. Everybody, in town here knows me. I hang out at the VFW, and I help lots of people. I give people rides home. I loan people money, buy them food or something, whatever. It makes you feel good, a sense of accomplishment. You've done something for your fellow man. So, I mean, I don't understand why these people can't help their fellow man. So I wanted to throw that out there. Just, and use those numbers, those astronomical numbers. I mean, my gosh, like I said, a billion is 1,000 million, and 100 billion is 100,000 million. That's a snot load of money. Don't tell me that they couldn't fork over some of that and, make some sort of a donation or a foundation. And I'm not talking about Bill Gates and the foundations that he puts into place. No, I'm not talking about that kind. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. This is the mentality of the people that we have to deal with who are running the world. And this is why I think the world is so screwed up. We are so materialistic, and just we're missing the point, as I've said so many times before. All right, going to change gears here, and that's why I play segue music. All right, getting back into this issue about Del Bigtree's documentary, An Inconvenient Study. I watched that whole thing, and I have to tell you, this is a must-view for everybody. Everybody needs to see this documentary film. And I'm going to play a little short clip from Del Bigtree. Here he is.
we have to remember the pharmaceutical industry, I would say it's the most powerful industry in the world. It is the best funded. It buys more politicians. It has more lobbyists than any industry there is in America.
Yeah.
If you watch, what
more
do you
lawyers.
think? More lawyers, more lobbyists, more money, and not just the government. It pays for more advertising and television. It's pulling 50 to 70% of the advertising, which means every single news anchor doesn't work for CBS or NBC. They work for Pfizer. They work for Sanofi-Aventis. If Sanofi calls the head of NBC and says, what was that report on a danger of vaccines? I think Katie Couric was the last one to ever attempt to do it. Maybe Cheryl Atkinson on a primetime channel. And then they said, that is never going to happen again, or we will pull all of our funding from this network. And from that moment on, we have watched news anchors that will never touch what I think is the biggest story in our lifetime. This is bigger than war. This is bigger than anything else, because this is about the governments of the world poisoning their own children and their own people at numbers that are so astronomical. It's why they get away from it. It's so improbable that it's happened that people just, you can't believe it. That can't be true, Del. It cannot be true, unfortunately. And this is what we've done since Vax is show the evidence. And that's what's in this film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he was talking with Lara Logan. That's the female voice that you heard. And anyway, like I said, this is a very in-depth study, and what they have uncovered with that, I mean, you'll probably never want to take another vaccine as long as you live. There's just so many, people who have been seriously injured and lives are destroyed because of the vaccines. And they found that the kids who did not get the vaccines are the healthiest ones. Why do the Amish never see all of these problems? Because they don't get vaccinated. And that's one study that they do not want to do. Absolutely not. And unfortunately, the damage has been done. I mean, we're talking several generations are really, really going to be, they're feeling the pain now. Nicholas Hulcher, who's been on the news, he was talking to, it's on the tip of my tongue, whatever. But anyway, here's Dr. Nicholas Hulcher on regard to these vaccines.
There's over 100 studies that find a positive association between vaccines and neurodevelopmental disorders and autism. Over 100. There's only about 30 that claim there's no association. And so we tipped the scales of balance there. It's looking like these vaccines are a risk factor for autism. All the mechanistic literature, experimental testing on these animals all reveals that this can happen. This can cause neurological damage. This can cause autism-like behaviors. Yeah, and so now the side that says there's no possibility at all and we have to forget about it, they're not supported by any mechanistic or biological evidence.
Mm-hmm. So the floodgates are open. All the information is coming out. And in a congressional hearing, Dr. Brian Hooker was being questioned by Ron Johnson. And here's what Dr. Hooker had to say.
What is the truth? Because I hear back and
That's
forth.
Ron Johnson.
Do pediatricians get incentivized with percent vaccination of their...
Yes. Dr. Paul Thomas has done a very good video on that, and many other pediatricians have followed. Maybe Dr. Hooker could answer better on that.
They're typically incentivized directly by HMOs. HMOs buy and sell vaccines, so vaccines are big businesses for HMOs. But the incentivization is usually anywhere from $200 to $600 per fully vaccinated patient, as long as their vaccines, a certain percentage of their practice is fully vaccinated. So some pediatricians can make upwards to $1 million or more a year just in those incentives.
I've also heard stories of pediatricians basically firing patients because they won't get vaccinated. Because that
is correct.
We hear that story over and over again. And also the lies that the pediatrician tell us that our baby will die if we don't get vitamin K at birth. The baby will bleed out before it gets to the car. And these stories, if you don't get the HPV vaccine, then you will die of cancer. These parents have told us these stories, and they're the same over and over again. How can they get away with lying like that to us, the parents?
Yeah, how do they get away with it? because it's so horrific, as Del Bigtree was saying, and as he said in his documentary, these crimes are so horrific that people just don't want to believe it. They just turn the other way. They say, no, that's conspiracy theory. Could not happen. It's impossible. You're crazy. You're a kook. I'm not going to listen to you anymore. And that's how they keep getting away with it. Simple as that. And there's another testimony here. Let me see. There was a woman, I don't know what her name was, but she was quoting from a test by a Dr. Kevin McKiernan, and she was talking about the SV40. We've talked about that. We've heard about that. But anyway, here's what she had to say about these vaccines.
Spike composition and the mRNA injections. A short time later, a 2010 Rockefeller document laid out a global lockstep program which reads like a bedtime story for totalitarian youth. A master map where you lose your rights, all in the name of making you safer, with a government control roadmap that predicted 2020 to 2022. After the world was successfully saved by being propagandized, locked down, and mass injected, in 2023, Kevin McKernan, who's here with us this weekend, yay, found 4 DNA genetic sequences of SV40 from the plasmid used for mRNA production inside the most used brand of all COVID shots in the world. The SV40 DNA sequences enhance the E. coli plasmid to make more spike RNA for the vaccine manufacturers. Everything apart from the code for that spike mRNA was supposed to be removed from the vaccine that the public received, but it wasn't. 2 months ago, further testing of the updated Pfizer jabs by McKernan showed the SV40 to still be there, but get this, with a 2 times concentration in the pediatric formula. McKernan has given numerous references which show that the promoter and enhancer of SV40, just a couple of fragments, of the full virus code, can have significant DNA modulation all by themselves, specifically influencing a protein called P53, which programs your body to continually seek out and participate in deletion of mutant cells. It's a protein you want working in top condition. But the spike S2 subunit interacts with P53, thus disturbing healthy genomic stability and normal cancer surveillance.
Yeah, the spike proteins. It's across the board. The floodgates are open. I'm telling you, folks, it's all starting to hit the fan, and it needs to. And I'm sure many of you have heard about Dr. Peter McCullough. He was vice president of Pfizer at some point, but he came clean, and here's what he has to say.
We have multiple studies showing a healthy child born today is healthier if they go without any vaccines. 10% of Medicaid recipients in Florida, 10%, had no Medicaid visits for vaccines. The parents probably opted out of taking vaccines. Those were the healthiest children. Paul Thomas examined 5,000 patients in his pediatric practice. Guess what? The kids who took no vaccines were the healthiest. And there's been studies in the Amish and others. It's clear in the modern day, going natural, I mean natural meaning no vaccines whatsoever, in a healthy child, the child is healthier.
Bam, right there. And it's the floodgates are open. They are absolutely open. And now the CDC has finally flipped. After all these years, they've been screaming, no, the vaccines do not cause autism. No, they do not. They absolutely do not. No, they don't. And now they're flipping. They're saying, well, there are no studies that say, Anyway, here's Del Bigtree again.
Are vaccines a cause of autism? Right. And for that, I would say unequivocally yes, based on experiences with the patients that I see, based on the biochemistry and the underlying mechanisms of autism. If I'm going to say that 60 to 70% of kids have autism because they have chronic brain inflammation, what is that? Chronic brain inflammation is encephalitis. Now, not infectious encephalitis like, from a virus like equine encephalitis you can get from a mosquito, but an autoimmune encephalitis. So if you look through the package inserts for these vaccines, how many of them have encephalitis as a side effect?
Here we go. This is Boostrix. There it is. One of the side effects, encephalitis. MMR2, encephalitis, encephalopathy. Engerix, encephalitis. Fluad quadrivalent encephalitis. These titles are a little bit high up for me. Invarex encephalopathy. There it is. Havrix, same thing. Gardasil, there you go. Acute disseminated encephalitis, Recombavax HB. Verivax, encephalitis. There you go. Those are the childhood vaccines. So in the incident, so is it safe to say that anything else other than vaccines that causes brain swelling in a child, especially an infant, encephalitis, could have a resulting symptom, if you will, of autism?
Right, because again, autism is not, we don't do a biopsy and diagnose autism, right? Autism is a set of behaviors that we diagnose it by. I mean, that's everything in psychiatry, and unfortunately, autism is not alone in this world. I mean, schizophrenia, bipolar, major depression, ADHD, all of them have a percentage of the patients that have those disorders. Brain inflammation is part of those disorders. The reason why people say, well, how on earth could a tetanus shot cause autism, right? It's because the tetanus shot can create the encephalitis that we know is at the root of many cases of autism. Not all of them, but many cases of autism.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So you have this. Yeah, it can cause this. There is a mechanism, a plausible mechanism. And if that's there, and you have a lot of eyewitnesses, i.e. parents, telling you this happened, then why aren't we researching the heck out of this with studies to determine, can we prove that that doesn't happen?
You don't look for what you don't want to find. That's the answer. Now, these companies, Pfizer, okay, Albert Bourla, he's in charge of Pfizer. He's probably one of those $1 billion, $100 billion club members. They're in it for the money. They are simply in it for the money. That's it. They don't care about the humanity. They don't care about the family's health. They're doing everything that they can to destroy the family's health. Why would they do that? Could have something to do with the global agenda to lower the population by over 90%. We've talked about that numerous times on this broadcast. So it's all according to their plan, their agenda. They are marching goose-step, all of them, marching goose-step towards their totalitarian control of this planet, and that does not include 90% of the population. So anyway, going to take a quick break. Here it is.
Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary.
And you can get more tank by visiting our website, TheWTFReports.com. Hit the sponsors button there, and it'll take you down to a page where you can click on Get More Tank and get all the specifications and details on how and why this stuff works so well in every single vehicle you can think of, gas or diesel. And once you start using it, like I said, within your first tank, you will notice that when you hit the accelerator, you go. You've got more power, and your engine runs cleaner, and after a couple of tanks, you will start to see the improvement in your mileage, anywhere between 15 to 20% better mileage, depending upon your make, model, year of vehicle, and your driving habits. And what that equates to is you spend $20, you get 5 tablets. If you're getting 20% better mileage, that means that your 5th tank is free. How much is a tank of gas these days, depending upon your car? Anywhere between, 40, maybe 50 or $60. Can you imagine if it's $50 to fill your tank, but you only spent $20 for Get More Tank, and that took care of 5 tanks, you just saved a tank of gas. So, I mean, it's a no-brainer, folks. Go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, and go to the sponsors page and get more tank. You'll be glad that you did. Okay, real quick, just a side note. Yesterday, I had to do a replay because I was contacted by my electric company. They sent me a text, and then there was an automated phone call that I got. And they said, they're going to be doing some upgrades in my neighborhood, and because of that, there will be a power shutoff, at approximately 10:30, and your power will be off for an hour to 2 hours. And I said, oh man, that's going to knock me off the air. I won't be able to do the show. So I said, okay, all right. It got to be at about 10:30. My power was still on. So I grabbed my laptop and I shot over to the VFW, and I wanted to see if their power was going to go off. It did not go off over there. So I hooked up to the internet, and I was getting some work done and sat there for about an hour and 20 minutes or so. And I came back home here and my power was on. I said, oh, that was convenient. And so I sat down, and then I noticed that all my clocks were still correct. I said, wait a second, if the power went off, I'm going to have to reset all my clocks. Bottom line is that they never turned the power off. I could have done the show yesterday. So, but anyway, that's why I wasn't live yesterday. I just assumed that they were going to shut the power off and I was going to be dead in the water. So, okay. Let's see. It is Friday, TGIF, and I'm going to open up the phone lines. And for those of you who call in, what was that, on Wednesday, I only had like 3 minutes left to the show, and all of a sudden I got callers coming in. No. You don't call at the end of the show. You can't. How am I going to put you on if you call me up and the closing music is on the air? So if you want to join the conversation here, if you want to belly up to the telephone bar, the phone number here is 215-867-8255. That's 215-867-8255. So the phone lines are open if you want to join me. All right, I got to tell you, I'm getting a little bit PO'd. Remember the interview that Tucker Carlson did with Ted Cruz? And Ted Cruz was saying, yes, the Bible, I believe the Bible, and the Bible says, I will bless those who bless Israel, and I will curse those who curse Israel. And I said, wait a second, that's not what the Bible says. And he should know better. Absolutely, he should know better. In Genesis 12:3, it says, God said, I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse you. So who is you? You was Abraham. Yeah, nothing about Israel. And Ted Cruz knew it. He knows that. Well, you know who else has been misquoting the Bible? Yeah, Mike Huckabee, ambassador to Israel, former governor of Arkansas. And here is the illustrious evangelical Mike Huckabee. Here he is.
So in Genesis, when the scripture says God will bless those who bless Israel and curse those who curse Israel, we don't argue with God about that.
No, you don't argue with God about that, and you don't change his words. Now, wouldn't you say that that's a sin? I mean, if you're a believing Christian and you want to take the word of God, I mean, that was God, supposedly, God talking to Abraham. I will bless those who bless you. I will curse those who curse you. But no, you change the words of God. I mean, there's a commandment. I don't know if you remember that one now. Thou shalt not bear false witness. In other words, you shall not lie. Isn't that a lie? Wouldn't you say that Mike Huckabee and Ted Cruz are not just lying, but they are basically going against the word of God that they claim to believe so strongly in. So why would they do that? Maybe it's because they have an agenda. Maybe it's because their loyalty is not to whom they say they are loyal to. As a matter of fact, we got a problem with Chucky Schumer as well. He said, numerous times that Israel is his priority. Here's another clip he just came up with.
The most important things I do. To watch, be the guardian of Israel. First.
Okay, I'm going to be the guardian of Israel first. In other words, Israel first. What happened to America first? And anybody who says America first is immediately labeled as an anti-Semite. What's that got to do with it? And speaking of anti-Semite, Now, you've heard this broadcaster say many, many times that the Palestinians are the Semites. And that's not because of what I say. It's because of what the Johns Hopkins University Ancestry Study said. And there's so many people out there screaming, anti-Semite, anti-Semite. They don't even know what a Semite is. According to the dictionary on my computer, if I look it up here, it's Semite. And I read, a member of any of the peoples who speak or spoke a Semitic language, including in particular the Jews and Arabs. Again, the definition of a Semite is a member of any of the peoples who speak or spoke a Semitic language, including in particular the Jews and the Arabs. Oh, really? Okay, so that's what the definition of Semite is. Now I'm going to put anti in front of that. A-N-T-I. So now anti-Semite. What is the definition of an anti-Semite? You would think that means somebody who doesn't like people who speak a Semitic language. But no, the definition of anti-Semite is a person, and I'm reading, a person who is hostile to or prejudiced against Jewish people. How does that get twisted? If a Semite is someone who speaks a Semitic language, and it means Jews and or Arabs, but an anti-Semite, you'd think that means somebody who doesn't like the people who spoke that language. But no, this is the redefinition of words. This is the new speak. This is the 1984 Orwellian world that we're living in. They're changing the meaning of words. They're twisting and manipulating, gaslighting, rewriting history across the board. So I just wanted to throw that in there because all these people out there that are screaming anti-Semite, they don't know what they're talking about. They really don't. And there's all these organizations now that are saying, oh, we have to create all these rules and laws and mandates and ban hate speech. Anybody who's speaking out against this or that, they're an anti-Semite, Jew-hating monster. They don't even know what a Semite is. They don't even know who the real Semites in the Middle East are. And they are the Palestinians. And the Jews, or shall I say, 97.5% of the Israelis are not even indigenous. They're from Eastern Europe and North America. They are not from the Middle East. They are not Semites. The Palestinians are the Semites, and that makes the Israelis the anti-Semites. I don't know. Am I crazy? Am I stupid? I don't think I'm either one of those, and I tell you, I don't lie. So anyway, let's see if I can get. Let me see. Somebody wanted to call in there for some reason. It went to voicemail. Try it again, caller. 215-867-8255. Let's see if you can give a call and get you on the air here. Anyway, in other news, let me see, what time is it here? Yeah, we got plenty of time for that. Tim Burchett was talking about an executive order, and this was one that I had not really paid too much attention to. And I know about Executive Order 13848 and Executive Order 13818. Yeah, 13848, 13818. Yeah. Okay, one of them has to do with crimes against humanity. If you're found guilty of crimes against humanity, you can have all of your assets taken from you. All right? And the other one has to do with election interference. If you're found guilty of being involved in any way with election interference, you too have consequences. But as far as this Executive Order 13773, I was not aware of this one. And I believe this is Tim Burchett. It sounds like Tim Burchett that's explaining what Executive Order 13773 is. And it sounds to me like it's a pretty important executive order. And once again, caller, if you want to try back again, I've got this program here. It's Zoom, but for some reason, since I switched computers, I've been having a little bit of a problem getting this to work. So give it a try again. 215-867-8255, and I'll get you on the air.
What's up, America? Hey, back in 2017, I started my journey with this whole legal finance thing, learning the system, learning what I was up against, learning, whether they were legitimate or fraudulent. And I discovered that all of them basically are fraudulent. So back in 2017, an executive order dropped, 13773. Most people never read it. Most people never understood it. But those who did, they realized it wasn't just paperwork. It was a signal. See, this order didn't name individuals, it didn't point fingers, it didn't make accusations. What it did was define a battlefield, legally. And here's the heart of it. Executive Order 13773 declared that certain forms of organized wrongdoing, especially corruption, fraud, and exploitation, are national security threats. Not political threats, not social threats, national security threats, meaning it opened the door for federal agencies, military intelligence branches, and interagency task force to work together.
Okay, caller, stay on the line. I'll get you in a minute.
Reaches a certain level. Not random, not reckless, strategic, lawful, coordinated. This order basically says if you're part of an organization, public or private, engaging in serious exploitation, corruption, or abuse that affects the American people, you fall under this umbrella. And with a lot of our research, we know who falls under this umbrella. Any structure, public office, corporate entity, agency, or organized group that engages in systemic corruption can be investigated, audited, and held accountable under the national security framework this order created.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there. So because this executive order, I want to look it up. I only heard about it this morning. So I'm going to look it up and read it, and I'll have a better understanding of how this works. But apparently, like Tim Burchett was saying, it's setting the framework to go after people who are involved in any form of corruption if that is deemed to be a threat to national security. And I think a lot of it will be. All right, let's go to the phones. Okay, let's see. Who do we have? It sounds like, do I recognize the number? Yeah, I think that's Cynthia. Is that you? Are you there? Let's see. Caller, are you there? Okay. I guess I don't have that, I don't have that part of the program working. I thought that I had that happening. Yeah, Cynthia, I'll tell you what. Try one more time. Call back one more time, and we'll see if we can't get this straightened out here. I apologize. It is what it is. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to disconnect, and let's see. Reconnect. Okay. All right. I tell you, I started out when I started with computers back in the 90s. Yeah, I had a Windows 98. Remember that? Oh, my gosh. Anyway, yeah, I had Windows 98, and then I switched over to a Mac. And now I'm switching back to Windows. So, all right, let's try this again. Okay, yeah, same number. That's Cynthia. Okay, let me see. Check. And I don't know why I can't hear you. I apologize, dear. I don't have you happening here. Let's see. Microphone, same system.
Muting.
Oh, there we go. Okay. I think I got it. I figured it out. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your patience. Welcome to the show.
I wanted to say that we know that Chucky Schumer is pretty much instructed by the rabbis when they're a child. But the first two politicians you mentioned, Huckabee and,
Ted Cruz.
The guy actually probably Canadian and not American. Maybe they were MKUltra Monarch programs.
Could be. Anything's possible, you know.
We don't know much about those programs because the CIA claimed to have destroyed the materials when the Church Committee demanded that they be given to Congress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We believe that this went dark, right?
Yeah.
And so, I have concerns because my own father may have something like that happened to him when he was in the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, you don't become a chief bosun's mate and then suddenly go psychotic. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You go through a lot of fire before you get that to that level. So we should consider that possibility and figure out if there's ways to help screen politicians for this kind of background.
Yeah, that would be interesting. I wonder how many of our politicians, we have 535 members of Congress. I wonder what percentage of them have gone through the the program. I don't know.
Well, I just wanted to plant that idea in the public's knowledge that if they don't know about the Monarch program, which we think of it as being children sexually abused, but it also can have other purposes of having people that all of a sudden are programmed to go berserk.
Yeah. Well, there's the Manchurian Candidate factor.
Right. So look at how politically connected their families were. The George Bushes, there's serious concerns about who they really were. Have you heard that actually that George H.W. Bush was actually a German citizen who came here as a teenager?
No, I haven't heard that, but I do know that that his father, Prescott Bush, was working with the Germans and basically providing them with financial and war materials.
Apparently working with Tesla also. I don't think Tesla understood his Prescott Bush's background. But the person who's saying that is Sheila Holm, Holm, Sheila Holm, who's apparently known as a Christian author and speaker. And she was being interviewed by Michael Jaco.
Okay.
If you will care to follow up on that tidbit, because I put it out there in Gab and haven't gotten any feedback. And there's always a possibility when I go on Gab, I'm going on to a mirrored, set, and I'm not actually getting the contacts I'm hoping for, or believing. So thank you for letting us call in.
No problem. Thank you for being patient with me. Like I said, this is the first time that I've been able to start taking phone calls with these new computers, and I missed a setting. That's why I couldn't hear you. So I appreciate your calling back, and I appreciate your patience.
All righty. Bye-bye.
All right. You have a safe weekend, dear. All right. Okay, let's see. I've got a couple of other things. Whoa, here we go. Whoa. Oh, okay. She connected and reconnected and then disconnected. Anyway, as I've been talking about for quite some time now, for months, there is a noticing going on. People are opening up their eyes. They are starting to pay attention. They are starting to listen. They are starting to watch. And they're putting the puzzle pieces together. And it's not looking good for the bad guys. Okay? This is a gentleman. He just posted, let me see. I don't know what his name is, but he posted this on X. He calls himself an American Christian man. And he says he woke up, and he's explaining his process. And I think, that what he's about to say, a lot of people all over the country can relate to this, because I think a lot of people have gone through exactly the same process. Here he is.
I'm going to explain how I went from a Zionist to an anti-Zionist. And I want to start off by saying that this was a very harsh realization for me. When God lifts spiritual veils from your eyes, it is never fun. It is never easy. But we have all been indoctrinated into Zionism in America since the day we were born, by the movies we watched, by what we were taught in school, by our textbooks, and by our churches, especially our churches. After October 7th, I was full on board with go kill the terrorists, go get your people back, protect the Holy Land. And then I watched what Israel did with my eyes. I watched them kill 20 women and children for every one terrorist. And every terrorist is just a man of age. Like, they don't even technically have to be Hamas. And after I watched them just kill tens and thousands of children and not care at all, I looked into Israel. Saw that it was set up by the Rothschilds, who are literal devil worshippers. And then I looked into everything else. Looked into World War II, World War I, who owns the Fed, the bankers, who pushed the woke gay ideologies on our people, and who did it to every other country for thousands of years. There's a reason they've been kicked out of 109 different countries. But Zionists, there are 10 times more Christian Zionists than there are Jewish Zionists. And that's because they need us on their side. There's 2.5 billion Christians in the world. They knew if they could get us to support them, then they could do whatever they want. And so they used our Bible against us. There is no verse in the Bible that says those who bless Israel will be blessed. It says those who bless you will be blessed. Those who curse you will be cursed. And all nations will be blessed through you. Talking to Abraham about Jesus. It's not talking about Israel. Waking up from Zionism was one of the hardest things I ever had to do, but all Christians need to do it.
Mm-hmm. And I can't help but think of that song, breaking up is hard to do. Well, I would change it and call it waking up is hard to do. Anyway, and he's right. Over the centuries, there have been 109 countries who have expelled the Jews. And there's a reason for it. As a matter of fact, there's a rabbi who said the quiet part out loud. And let me see if I've got a name. No, there's a name plaque and I can't read it. But here is a rabbi, and he's talking about exactly that. Listen to this.
If your child is thrown out from every single school in the tri-state area, right? At some point, the principal is going to tell you, it's not the schools. You understand? Jews have been thrown out from every single country they ever lived in, besides maybe 5. New Zealand, Australia, America, and maybe another 2. You tell me one country in the world that they weren't expelled from. So at some point, you got to look at yourself and say, you know what? Maybe it's us. So you become a self-hating Jew. I understand the process very well. 2,000 years of being thrown out of every school. At some point, you look in the mirror and you say, you know what? I got the issue.
Yeah, he's right. That's absolutely right. So at this point, the count is 109 countries. Okay, going once, going twice. Do I hear 110? 110. Who's going to belly up? 110. Who's going to make it 110? We're waiting. Yeah, and so this is not stuff that we're not just making this stuff. We're not blowing smoke here, folks. The whole point here is to get this information in the face of everybody so you can make your own informed decision. I mean, I've said that many times. How can you make an informed decision if you don't have information? And if the information that you have is misinformation, disinformation, and lies, then those opinions that you form are extensions of the lies. And that's where we're at, folks, because we have all been fed a steady diet of misinformation, disinformation, and lies. So we shouldn't be surprised that when the truth comes along, it tastes funny, and some people reject it altogether. And that's what we're up against. And going full circle, talking about this issue about the Inconvenient Study documentary, I mean, we've been told over and over and over for generations that, vaccines are safe and effective, 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 safe and effective. Over and over. So, of course, people say, hey, are those vaccines safe? Say, yeah, well, they're safe and effective. A lie told often enough becomes the truth. And now you find out that they're not safe and effective. They never were. They hid all of the necessary information for you to make an informed decision. And that's where we are. So, anyway, that said, okay, we're coming up on the closing time here for this week's installments of the WTF Reports. As always, I humbly request that if you're listening on BitChute or Rumble or YouTube or Facebook or any of the other platforms, and we are going to be expanding these platforms soon, as soon as I can learn how to work some of these extra programs. So if you're watching or listening on any one of those platforms, please click like, share, subscribe, and above all else, word of mouth is the best advertising. So I would ask that you tell your friends, your family, your coworkers, the people next to you at the checkout in the supermarket. Yeah, get everybody on board here. Get everybody listening to the WTF Reports. And again, if you're appreciating the program, do business with our sponsors. You might want to pick up some merch. Yeah, we got some cool T-shirts, coffee cups, baseball caps, and with the logo, the WTF Reports. And also, if you're appreciating the efforts that we're making here and you want to support us financially, there is a GoFundMe page at the website because we could certainly use it. And getting all this stuff costs money. Anyway, that said, it's going to wrap it up for a week of broadcasting here at the WTF Reports. I'm Dave vonKleist, and I thank you for your listenership. That said, you have a lovely weekend. Be safe, be free. God bless you all, and I'll see you on Monday.